very much for joining us today. My name is Marian White, and with me is my co-host since the dark ages, I think, Ken Bialo. Ken served as mayor in the village of Larchmont for 4 years. He was trustee on the Larchmont Village Board for 11 and served in many other volunteer positions.
Capacities, I prefer.
Capacities. Okay. And our favorite guest is Mike Weiner. Mike served as trustee on the Larchmont Village Board for 5 years. You outdid me. I'm very impressed. And you were the volunteer fire chief in the village of Larchmont for 3 years, and you served as a volunteer fireman for 30 years plus. So, you know, guys, with all that volunteer time, what if you'd spent time getting paid? Just think where you'd be.
Yeah, you'd be, yeah.
Bahamas?
Yeah, retired. That's where I'd be.
Well, we're here for the next 10 years, right? We're just learned about a very interesting LMC-TV event, which is a live call-in show on May 25th at 7:30. Rob Astorino will be right here, and he will take questions from callers. So the number to call May 25th at 7:30 is 914-381-0150. It also will be streaming live on the website, so I think you said you're going to be in Boston, and you can follow it there and ask questions from Boston.
Oh, absolutely.
So
maybe.
That's
Doubt it.
So I think that's really, you know, great that the LMC-TV
So who is Rob
can do that.
Astorino?
He is the current county executive of Westchester.
Yes.
And he, as always, is going to be challenged. And I think we were going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yes, there's an election in November, right? 5 months? What's November? 6 months? Something like that.
Right, something
Yes,
like that.
something like that. Rob is running for re-election as Westchester County Executive. And
when
he's going to be here to answer questions. All right, but don't ask anything that's lewd or lurid, because I'm sure that there'll be a delay.
I hope
and
so.
They will just cut those questions off.
Yes, LMC, we suggest you get a delay.
Definitely need a delay.
Well, I think that's really great that
It is
LMC
great.
is doing this kind of thing. So
really great.
I'm going to watch locally.
Yes.
Now,
It is really great. What?
I always like to start out a program about Furniture Share House
Oh, yes.
because it is just so amazing the difference that the board of Furniture Share House, headed by the executive director, Catherine Bialo,
Yes.
and her counsel, Kenneth Bialo, the difference that you guys have made. Excuse me.
The difference that she has made.
Well,
Lawyers,
she gets a little help.
sit behind the curtain and just help
And
along.
pull strings.
No, help along.
Well, it's just, I won't read this whole thing, but they get very touching letters, and this
Yes.
was sent out around Mother's Day, so it was very nice. I was afraid to leave my marriage of 12 years because I didn't think I was strong enough and didn't think it would be good for my kids. And then she goes on about how she did this, and that Furniture Share House made this a reality. With the furniture you provided, we can finally call our place a home. I cannot thank you enough. I mean, it's just wonderful, someone going through such a terrible thing. And I mean, when she was going through that, she certainly wasn't thinking about furniture, but she was thinking about how could she create a home for her children. And, you know, there's a solution. So it's really wonderful.
It comes for free.
Well, you were saying Kate had won some
Well,
awards?
on the 25th of April, which is now, what, 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, there was a reception held up at the warehouse to mark the 10th anniversary of the creation of the organization. And nobody remembers this except for those of us who are older and don't have anything else to think about. But in 2007, in the spring, there were horrific floods in the village of Mamaroneck. And most of the downtown and over near the the grocery store back there in the railroad station and all over the place. The Mamaroneck River had flooded. There was huge rains. And that was maybe 2 days after she opened the organization. And what she did was she rented a tent, came down to Mamaroneck, and started dialing up all of the organizations, people that she knows in Mamaroneck. And people were bringing furniture into the tent so that the people who were displaced by these, I mean, literally waist-high floods, right, who were given temporary housing by the county would have something that they could look forward to when, and this took a while, right, when the waters receded and they were able to get back into their homes, because everybody lost everything in these areas. I don't know, maybe a six square block area.
No, I remember it was terrible.
Oh, it was awful. So she was down there in Harbor Island Park with a tent and a bunch of volunteers and a bunch of furniture coming into this tent. I was down there because I was moving it around. I was like, are you kidding? Stuff is leaking all over the place. The rain was awful. Anyway, she marked the 10th anniversary of the opening of her shop, of her organization, by having, let's see, there were the member organizations, there were large-scale donors and supporters. There were, the county executive was there and gave a really beautiful speech. And the board was there, and the no people who were individual Furniture Share House clients. That would not have been appropriate, but a lot of people from the organizations that were helped, and a ton of the volunteers. I don't know, she has 40 volunteers that work with her. So there were a whole bunch of volunteers with her. And it was great. And guess what? It was pouring down rain, and we were in a tent. It was really ridiculous. It was 10 years again all over. And it was great. And the county executive was great, and he was very supportive in not only in his speech, but also in a TV interview that he gave to Channel 1, one of the cable thingies.
The one that comes
one
up.
One of the local cable things.
Yeah,
It was Fios, or maybe it was.
Yeah. They have Restaurant Hunter, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
We watch that a lot.
So anyway, it was great, and it was a great event, and there was a little reception, there was a tour around the warehouse and stuff, and she reported that when we were in Toronto in March, that she, with me in tow, being dragged by the neck, went to visit the Furniture Bank in Toronto. This was cool, and I'll tell you why. The town of Mississauga, which is just next to Toronto, right, is larger in square miles than the county of Westchester, the town. It has a population almost the same as the county of Westchester.
So they have a lot of space.
780,000 people. There are 5 million people in the Toronto metropolitan area. This organization, we have one truck. This organization had 11 trucks. And they were radio and computer controlled, so they got readouts of where to go next, and they got a manifest in the morning of where to go to pick things up and how to bring them back.
Oh, our Kay's eyes must have lit up.
They had a shop that rebuilt things and also built things from scratch that they put out on the floor. This stuff was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. 25,000 square feet of space. They had a play area for the kids when the moms came in and so on. It was spectacular. So I'm just trailing behind with the executive director's husband, who, like me, kind of does what he's told. And the two of them are hitting it off because each is talking to the other and saying, do you have this problem? Oh my goodness, do we have it? People aren't there, they don't deliver, they don't pick up, and they're just chatting. We were there for an hour and a half, really visiting. So she talked a little bit about this, which I just thought was fascinating. Go to another town, what do? You go to their furniture bank.
Well, it's a unique way to see the world, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was interesting.
Oh, I bet. Well, it's amazing what Kate has done. So we're all very proud of her.
Me too.
So then we have an election season coming up. I guess you mentioned that already because that's probably why Rob Estorino is on a live call-in program.
Wouldn't be surprising, would it?
And so we have some interesting elections that are taking place. Do you have any that you're particularly watching?
Well, right now I'm going to watch the election that's going on today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
The great school district funding election. the budget election is going on today. And there were some interesting facts that I think we were going to bring up on that.
Uh-huh.
Because
We thought you could explain it to us. That's why we were going to
We're
bring it
not
up.
smart enough to
No, we can't
understand
figure this out.
Okay.
well, I'm sorry, I'm too old to have learned that new math. And I think this is a new math problem.
So this is a mailing that came out that's to explain things. And it says proposed 2.25% tax levy increase requires 60% voter approval. So the tax levy increase is 2.25%.
Which is over the cap.
Right.
Right.
Projected tax rate decrease. Based on the town's latest assessments, the tax rate is projected to decrease by 0.94%. Thus, your school taxes will likely go up only if your home assessment is going up. If your home assessment is going up less than 1% or going down, your school taxes are expected to go down. Except I know in Larchmont, at least, they have an assumed every year increase, sort of an inflationary increase to the value of homes. So
This is why I couldn't understand this. One paragraph says we're going to have a 2.25% tax levy. The next paragraph says that the expected taxes are actually going to decrease. So
We thought that you could explain this.
you're a computer
You're a computer
genius.
whiz. Come on.
I think that's a freshman programming problem.
Maybe it's a typo.
I mean, I didn't get it. And I think it's, more interesting is people should vote for what they want or don't want in terms of the actual issues that they're planning to budget. It was an interesting year because they were debating, some of the programs they were thinking of cutting in the high school. I believe Apple was on the block. I don't know what they finally decided for Apple. I didn't stay close enough to that. But I do think it's an interesting issue, and what I find is really interesting is other than a couple of mailings, there really is not a lot of discussion to talk about. Probably the single largest part of our expenditures locally.
Well, they keep wanting you to go to the website. There'll be emails, and we've gotten emails, but it always says go to the website, which means it's much more complicated than this.
Well, what I find is interesting is probably the area that we spend the most time with locally, especially with our children, is the schools. Our single biggest local expense is the schools.
Right.
Yet you have, between the budget that you really don't hear anything about, we spend a lot of time discussing the budget of the localities, which is a very, very, is what, roughly a third of our total local taxes?
Right.
Close to half our local taxes is the school, and we spend very little time discussing that and what we expect for it, and even less time discussing how we pick the people that actually run the district.
Well, they're kind of, the selection committee offers up,
One candidate.
if you will, a selection.
A social selection?
I don't know. It's a selection. I don't know who's on the selection committee or how they select, but presumably it's on a similar kind of basis to what happens in politics, right? You pick somebody you think can win. You pick somebody you think will do a good job if they win, knowing that if they win, they're going to be besieged by 1,000 different things. You really don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
I think so. I assume they work the same way. I don't know.
Well, one thing I have been impressed with the Mamaroneck school budget is that it has come in under the tax cap for
Several years in a row.
Yes.
I think they've tried to do a yeoman's work. I mean, I don't think, I'm not trying to degrade this. What I'm trying to say is to raise awareness of, your largest expenses, and if you want to sit there and control your costs, you have to watch the largest expenses first.
Right, which means people need to get involved and go to the website and read it, and
Yeah, and
people just don't, unfortunately. So it's a smaller group.
That's exactly it. I mean, I read they try and do a good job putting out what's going to be on their agenda on Tuesday nights. But I'll be quite honest, I don't go to the school district meetings.
Well-
Fortunately, they are publicized on LMC-TV.
Right? This LMC carries that.
Yeah, they're
carries it live.
publicized on,
And the board meetings also of the municipalities, right?
correct. So that's, it's another good use of LMC, but it's
I would like to
interesting.
say thank you to LMC for doing that, because before they started doing it in Larchmont, the meetings would go till 1 or 1:30 in the morning. Board meetings would go till 1 or 1:30 in the morning. And after we brought the TVs into the meetings pretty much stopped at 10 or 10:30, which was such a lifestyle improvement.
That was sympathy for the LMC people who'd been hanging out there for 4 hours,
Yes,
probably.
but if you take Mike's
So you
point,
became mayor.
yeah, exactly right. Talk fast. So, but if you apply that to the school board meetings, think how much longer, assuming the same principles of just monumental expansion of the amount of words and the amount of disputation goes on when it's not
Especially when
on
you have
TV.
different schools
just,
to
just
talk
think
about.
how much time you've saved. The LMC has saved the school board members. Just astounding.
Oh, we should do a study as to how much it shortened their meetings. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But there probably was a way that this could be explained, because we all are pretty smart, I would think.
Not smart enough.
I guess. Not to be on the school board, at
I
least.
mean, the only thing I could think of is the 2.25% is coming, assuming you didn't change the assessed valuations. But we
Okay.
know they do change.
Right.
They're
And-
set to change because we have to stay at full assessed value now.
Right, so
But we don't.
pretty much they go up.
Pretty much, they're going to always go up.
Yeah, so pretty much it means we're paying more. That's how I read it.
Okay?
So let's go back to the elections that are coming up. And I know you were very interested in the mayor of Mamaroneck, Norman Rosenblum.
Well, Norman is challenging Catherine Parker, who is the sitting county legislator from our area.
Okay.
And Norman was the mayor in Mamaroneck, and everybody knows the trials and tribulations the Mamaroneck board has had trying to get things done and
It's
get
pretty
organized.
bitter.
It's very bitter here. So I can understand somebody wanting to get out of that. The only comment I wanted to make about that is there was an article in the local paper about addiction, about the problem of addiction to these prescription drugs and some non-prescription drugs, and how the rage is kind of sweeping through the school systems across the country, and there really hasn't been tackled yet. Remember when Nancy Reagan came out in the 1980s and said, just say no? That was part of a publicized campaign to kind of try and move people off of heroin and cocaine, which was rampant on Wall Street and in other places. And I think something like that has to be done. My only point is that Norman is very active in this. It's not just an enforcement problem. The headline here is right. Community drug talk arms residents against addiction. It's not we're not going to save you from this. We're not going to arrest our way out of it. That's the issue. This is not just the police problem. You can't police a kid going into the drug cabinet and pulling off the shelf some thing that they can mix, that the kids know how to mix into something else, or something that on its face is a controlled substance. So that's not a police issue. That's a home issue. That's a kid issue. That's a child rearing issue. And I think the point of these activities, both in the school system and outside of the school system, is to get people involved in recognizing that there is a problem out there. You can't say, gee, not my kid, because you may not know, right? And to recognize that it's not the cops that are going to create the solutions, that it's the parents and teachers who are going to create the solutions. You okay? You sure?
Keep talking.
So Norman is very
Sorry.
active in that. I just think that that's interesting. I don't know about the other candidates. I just know that he is, because I've seen him talk at these things, and he's pretty eloquent and otherwise a pretty good guy. So I just wanted to get that out there.
And then George.
Oh, yes. So who is running against Republican Rob Astorino in the November election for county executive? The Democrats, I think the Democrat County Convention has nominated George Latimer. Everybody around here knows George. And there were 2 announcements that there would be challenges in the primary. I think primary day for state offices is sometime in early September, maybe. And one of those is Ken Jenkins, who's a county legislator, and the other is from, I don't know, Yonkers or White Plains. And then there's Andy Spanos. Andy used to be the county executive many moons ago. His son, whose name is David Spano, they have said that they would challenge George. George right now is a sitting state senator. I'm not sure that he's going to give up his office to run. I think he can still, you can run for another office while you're
in an office.
In an office, that's okay. And it's going to be an interesting election, certainly around here, because everybody knows George, and I think everybody knows Rob. And I don't know if it's going to be on ideology or it's going to be on lunatic politics in Washington or the lunatic reportage that you get in the newspapers and on the TV, except for LMC-TV, all the lunatic reporting that goes on. So I don't know, but it's going to be interesting.
You would think that Rob would have more coverage across all of Westchester, wouldn't you?
You would think that, but remember, the county is just another municipality. It's not. People think about the county and they say, "Oh, well, it's a superior form of government." That is not correct.
No, it's not.
That's what the housing monitor has all screwed up. The county doesn't run the munis. The munis run themselves. The county is a muni. It runs itself. So when they say there'll be no smoking in Westchester County, they're talking about Westchester County-owned property.
Oh, okay.
They're not. We don't report. The towns and villages don't report to the county legislature or the county executive. The towns and villages, the electeds, report to the population, and the next layer up of government is state government. The county government runs a gigantic operation. There's no question about it. It's got a $2 billion budget. It has parks. It has highways. It has the community college.
Hospitals.
It has police.
Social services.
Department of Social Services. Huge operation.
That's a big expense, too.
Yeah, and it also runs the emergency planning, which brings together the municipalities to work with them. And at least when I was mayor, what happened was they tended to propose things, and we'd say, where are you going to get the money? And they said, we're going to work with the feds to get a grant. And we'd say, good, this sounds great. So we can call you if we have a hazardous spill. It means that I don't have to pay for it, which makes no sense in a 1 square mile area
Right.
with 6,500 residents. Or the next town over, which is Marian, which has got 15,000 or whatever. It makes no sense for us to have that kind of specialization. But if they can supply it, which they do, so there's a lot of coordinated stuff that goes on using the offices of the county, good offices of the county. So, but it's not a superior form of government. It doesn't dictate zoning laws. Can't dictate zoning laws. Zoning, it's a home rule state. The muni runs its own zoning, period. If somebody thinks they've been wrong by the way the zoning board is ruled, what do? You go to court.
Yep.
Right? You don't go to the county and say, oh, can you please fix
And
this?
it's state court. It's not county court. It's
okay.
state court.
State court.
I mean, this is a home rule state.
Yeah.
And unless you want to abolish the towns and the villages, there's not much you can do. I mean, the reason they have county police departments in Long Island is the towns and villages and all that decided to seat it.
Yes.
You
Oh,
see
so
it.
that's
You
the
see it in
difference,
this
okay.
county every now and then. Certain municipalities want to cede functionality to the county, and they have to make a contract with the county to do that.
Yep.
We saw that with Ossining a few years ago when they went to the county police department.
And some places go to the state police, which have the state police actually have a legislative, legal obligation to enforce the law in any municipality into which they're invited. So you just send them a little note saying, we're abandoning our police department. That's $5 million out of our budget. We'd like you to patrol our area. The disadvantage of doing that, obviously, is you have way long response times. You can't possibly get the same level of service. They're not going to maintain 26 cops for 1 square mile.
Right.
That's nutty. We do that.
That's nutty.
That's not, I know. But we do it. They're not going to do that.
Right.
So you get better service if you control it locally. But what Mike says is absolutely right. Fire control systems out of the county runs the Firemen's Academy, right?
They run
among other things.
they run the fire academy.
They
but
run the dispatch.
But believe it or not, for the career personnel, the career departments actually run their rookie school
Oh, so
using the
separate?
county facilities. But the trainers and all that come from the career departments for the career, for the professional firefighters. The state provides the instructors that teach the volunteers.
There you go.
And the county provides
contract.
the training center up in Valhalla.
And the county does the dispatch, right?
The county has dispatch.
Right, we used to do our own dispatch. That got moved to the county.
Oh,
So
right.
the county does the dispatch now. So you dial 911. If it's a fire call, the message goes out through the county system. So there's less publicity down here than maybe, less public information than maybe you think there should be. But it's a huge office with huge responsibility. It's just not responsible directly
To us.
for us.
On a
Not
day-to-day basis.
On a day-to-day basis. It's not. How about the MRF, the recycling facility and the separation facilities and all these, the trash system for disposing of the trash, and the stormwater system, which is
Sewage
ours,
treatment.
and the sewage treatment plants.
Those are
also
county
count.
functions.
So
Wow,
munis get
okay.
together and say, we'll give this function to you.
And then they do
We'll
it.
pay for it, yes. And then you charge us back.
Do we have any say in the chargeback?
No.
You can argue, but your influence is limited, right? Reclaim New York. We have like 2 minutes
Okay,
left.
1 minute.
1 minute. Reclaim New
fast.
York. Reclaim New York. Just got a 6-page mailer. It's the same organization that was sending out these brightly colored things. And I did this on the radio this morning. Here's what they say. We have a simple formula for reclaiming New York. Educate, engage, reclaim. That's what you were talking about earlier. Learn what the issues are, get engaged with them and active in them, and then you have a right to speak. That's exactly your point. That's why I was going to read it then, and then never mind, I'll leave it till later. So you're on board with this, and I want you to join. We'll join together.
So how are they going to get us to engage?
They got a long program,
Oh, okay.
they say they've got 100,000 people signed up to help.
Okay.
I haven't seen that yet, but I'm going to sign up. And if it offers the opportunity to help in one way or another, as long as it's not directly political, it's just a good government group.
Right.
I think that's great, and I'm in favor of it.
Oh,
And I think this
great.
is great. And the man's name is Brendan Muir, and it's www.reclaimnewyork.com if you want to figure out how to give some money or support or whatever. It's really
Okay.
terrific.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. And thank you very much to the real talent that's on the other side of the cameras. And I guess we're getting into spring now, or summer, so we'll look forward to talking to you again next time.